Hello and welcome back. Today we are with another chainsaw comparison video, and we have here what I believe is the most powerful 40cc chainsaw on planet Earth. That is stock, like most powerful from the factory 40cc chainsaw.
And I mean, you can just run these things for hours.
They're hours. So I have this 540 Mark III, the top handle, and I love this chainsaw. It's got so much power for what it is. And it's convenient because it's a top handle, but it's also, it gets kind of tiring.
Yeah, it wears your forearms out if you're just doing firewood with it.
Yeah, which that's not the point. The whole point that I got this saw is just to trim trees, little stuff, limb stuff out. And what about 2 months ago, we went up to Wisconsin to Chris in the wood yard, and he had a 540 rear handle. And both of us enjoyed running that thing so much that I knew he already had the top handle. He wasn't going to buy it, so when we got back, I ended up going ahead and ordering one. Of all the saws we ran that day, we both left and we were like, dude, this thing is underrated for what it is.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of people wouldn't buy this because they've already got themselves a 50cc pro saw or a ranch saw. And that's kind of the reason why I never bought one. I just felt like, hey, I've got this saw, that's my small saw. I don't really need one of these or anything. But after running these, I'm really curious to see what the power difference is in this compared to the 50cc Pro Saw. So what I've got here is a 545. It says professional. It's similar to the 550 XP, the 261 steel. So if you're familiar with those, this is going to be right there with it.
Yeah.
The 550 and the 261 might be just half second faster, if that.
I think it depends on what wood you're in,
but
what your chain is that day.
They're right there. So we're going to compare these. We're going to do some cut tests. How quick is this compared to these? These two smaller 540s, these are running 325 mini chains. So in theory, they have less power, but they're pulling less chain.
Yeah, and they got 043 gauge, so they're skinnier.
And then this 545 is running a .325. This one has a 20-inch bar, 14 and 16. So I know they're not all the same, but with this saw, yes, it has a 20, but if I was just going to cut 20-inch wood all day, this isn't the saw I'm going to pick.
No.
This saw to me is more of just a limb saw, small stuff saw, clean up, get to your big wood, get a big saw in it. And that's how I look at these two. I'm not going to cut firewood with these all day, but if you wanted something that was light to limb out.
You can cut with them all day, but I mean, we got other options, so.
Exactly. So the big thing with these saws is we did weights on them, and you will be very surprised. And I think when we're doing cutting is where our eyes might be opened as far as how light these are for the power. We weighed them all. Aaron, what are our weights?
545 is 16 pounds, 8 ounces. The 540 rear handle is 11 pounds, 7 ounces.
So 5 pounds less.
Yeah, and they're all full of gas and oil.
Yep. And then this one
was 11.08.
Yep. So I think that's going to be the big thing with this one. Being how light this is, you could limb all day, clean up trees, and you're not going to get tired. 5 pounds is a ton of weight.
Yeah.
You notice 2 or 3 pounds, let alone 5.
Right. And from running this in the past already, the tanks of gas last just as long as they do on a 50cc saw.
So all of these saws are slightly modified. These two have West Coast mufflers on them. This one has just a drilled out muffler, so I wouldn't say there's any advantage, disadvantage there.
Gin and mod.
Yeah, it's opened up. She's flowing some fluids there. So yeah, I think it's time to get out and cut with them. Let's get out there and find a log and do some cutting. 2.4.
That's pretty good.
Half second. shooting him. .6 smoked her.
Yeah. I mean, that was a full bar length on
Yeah.
that little saw.
All right, so we did the cutting, and I honestly was a little bit surprised. On the small wood, these saws were about half a second slower than the big saw.
It could hang.
Yeah, these were 3.1, 3.3. Big saw was 2.5.
Yeah.
So right there. On the big wood with the 14-inch bar pretty much buried.
Full length bar.
Yeah, it was 5 seconds slower.
Yeah.
So
when I was pushing on a larger stick, I was pushing to where I felt like the saw was in a good power band without bogging too much, and I did that the same on this one, and I could push harder on this saw.
Yeah, so if you were going to go cut firewood all day, you know, you wanted one saw, it's hard to beat those 50cc
Yeah.
Pro saws. But if you were like buying a saw and it was going to be your small saw to limb with, dude, these things are tough to beat. 5 pounds. Like if
Right.
you had just trees down everywhere and you need to limb them out,
Yeah.
I mean, this thing it's just unbeatable.
And putting them in and out of the scabbard on the tractor.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of my favorite saws to use for that.
Absolutely. And the muffler, the West Coast muffler,
They're loud.
it sounds unbeatable, man.
Yeah.
It sounds so good. I think it sounds better than a bark box. It just ring a ding, whap whap, you know, it sounds good.
It's like those are like Harleys and these are crotch rockets in a way.
Yeah. So, yeah. Overall, no regrets in these small
Yeah,
saws.
they're good saws.
Running this little guy makes me want to trade this one for the rear handle.
This has its place,
It does.
but I think for my uses, this has a better place.
Yeah.
On another note too, the chain speed on these is like typical Husky, just seems like it's really fast.
They don't have a ton of torque, but just a lot of chain speed.
Yeah.
But I think
I mean, what are they, 39 cc's?
Yeah.
So,
I think it's definitely the statement I made earlier that this is the fastest 40cc chainsaw on the planet.
yeah.
That's stock. And it runs good.
Yeah.
Hey, that'll do it for this one. We'll see you next time.